To introduce our speaker today, CA Aditya Zantye.
A warm welcome to all of you. Our speaker for today is Mr. Aditya Zantye, a chartered accountant practicing since last 7 years. He is currently a partner in Rera company, a Gordon company, chartered accountants. He specializes in the area of Rera advisory and compliances, bank audits, stock audits, tax audits, and GST for real estate sector. He is also involved in project accounting, assurance and advisory services, outsourced accounting, and corporate law services. He has handled litigation matters before VAT authorities, anti-evasion authorities, and service tax, and before MahaRERA authorities for major real estate groups engaged in SRA and affordable housing sector. He has been invited as a speaker by various forums and has delivered interesting talks on crucial aspects of Rera at these platforms. Thank you for attending this insightful session. Please note that we shall take queries, if any, at the end of this session. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. So basically, we are here to have an insight on the various issues or the changes in the forms. And now if you have observed that recently the registration, at the time of registration, we have seen that there is stringent scrutiny at the end of the MahaRERA. And they have started even verifying the various forms which we are uploading on the website. So here basically at the time of registration, when you upload the form, it is not just a certificate or a form which you are uploading, but certain important aspects which needs to be taken care of in those particular certificates. Otherwise, it will have an impact later on. So today, we will see basically the new forms which are introduced. This all contains the links to the new forms. So right now we have the entire mechanism of Rera running around these forms. The form 1, that is the architect certificate. Form 2, engineer certificate. Form 3, that is CA certificate. These 3 certificates are required at the time of registration and at the time of every withdrawal. Then 2A, it is a quality assurance certificate. It is required for assurance regarding the quality of the construction material used. Then Form 4 and Form 5. Now Form 5 is again issued by a chartered accountant, and it is a certificate which is issued by a chartered accountant who is an auditor for that company. He can be a Rera auditor also. Then Form 4. This certificate is issued by a project architect at the time of completion. So entire mechanism runs around these certificates, and after a few amendments, the importance is increased, and certain recent issues which we have seen in realty sector recently, because of that also these forms, the importance is increased a lot. Let us first see the few important amendments. Now here you can see the first general amendment, that is the MahaRERA General Regulations 2017. The initial principal regulations was released on 24th April 2017. Later on, there were certain amendments, minor amendments in 2019. And then we had a change in the Form 3 in Second Amendment Regulations 2019, wherein they changed the complete definition of land cost. Then MahaRERA General Amendment Regulations 2021, which is effective from 22nd December 2021. So this is the most important regulations. This is the most important amendment, because here all the new forms were introduced, and still many professionals are issuing the old certificates, which is not valid. That is the reason there is further delay in registration process now also. Now coming to these 3 regulations, which were introduced, I mean to say they were amended in Amendment Regulations 2021. So इसमें ये जो 3(3)(a)(4). So what does Regulation 3 earlier is to speak about that it is a certificate issued by project architect in Form 4 to be issued on completion of each of the building or wing of the real estate. So this was the earlier position before this amendment. So at the time of each of the building or wing, he has to issue the certificate. But later on, the amended position speaks about registered real estate project. So at the time of completion of the Rera registered real estate project, at the time of that project, he can issue the certificate. So suppose there are multiple buildings in a particular Rera registration number, then he is not required to issue the certificate. It is not a compulsion for him to issue the certificate at the time of completion of each building, but he is having an option, and the promoter is having an option to issue it at the time of completion of the entire project, which is registered under Rera. Then Regulation 3A, I talk about Form 2A. Form 2A is the quality assurance certificate. The developer was finding difficulty for submitting this form at the time of every financial quarter. Because once a particular grade, quality or grade of material is used in the real estate project, then hardly there are any changes in the basic quality of the construction or the grade. So obtaining this certificate for 4 times in a year was next to, I mean to say, it was not convenient for the developer. So they have changed it, and now it can be issued for at the time of every end of the every financial year within 3 months. Later on, an order came that they have to upload it after the end of the financial year, one form for 1 year. That's it. Then Regulation 4, the annual report on statement of accounts in Form 5. Now this is an important certificate because it is issued by the statutory auditor. Or I can say the statutory auditor was the earlier name given to that particular chartered accountant who was issuing this certificate. But later on, this position was amended, and the annual report on statement of accounts in Form 5 to be certified and signed by the annual auditor. So statutory auditor is the auditor who is required to do the audit by a statute. But it created a confusion with the statutory auditor of the company because there is one term defined, that is statutory auditor of the company. But what about others in partnership form or other proprietary concerns? So later on, this was creating a confusion. So they have changed the name to annual auditor. So a developer can have a separate Rera auditor for the project. Because it may not be necessary that the statutory auditor is having the adequate knowledge regarding the Rera. Yes, he has to put, I mean to say, comment as per the compliance of the laws and regulations in his independent auditor's report. So the independent auditor, that is the statutory auditor, has to comply if the provisions of this act is followed or not. But he can have a separate annual auditor for the purpose of Rera. Now coming to the first form, that is the most important form, because here the money matter is involved. All the developers get the limit in this particular form. This is required at the time of registration and withdrawal. Earlier, MahaRERA authorities were not checking this at the time of registration in detail. But now, this form is picked first, and in the financial scrutiny, various errors are being pointed out in these forms, due to which registrations are getting delayed. So coming to what are the major changes in this form, earlier this form never contained a subject clause. There was no subject clause in this form. So what we were certifying, it was not written, but now they have clearly mentioned the subject clause that we are certifying the financial progress of work. That is the entire, not the physical progress, but the financial progress of the work is the main target of this certificate, and then issued for Rera compliance. What compliance? As per section 11, section 3, whatever compliance is required, all the compliance, for example, quarterly compliance, regular updates. So for entire monitoring of real estate sector in a financial way, it is called as a RERA compliance. Together sum up RERA compliance. Then earlier there were 7 tables, one table, that is we had estimated cost and actual cost if you have observed the form 3, but now they have introduced 7 tables in this certificate. So what we are certifying as a chartered accountant and as a developer, it is important that this certificate talks about deposit and utilization also apart from the cost. Cost तो certify हो ही रहा था पहले से, but अब इसमें deposit and utilization भी certify हो रहा है, which was only the role of the chartered accountant issuing form 5. पहले statutory auditor, मतलब जो auditor है, RERA auditor, वो verify करता था कि ये जो amount collect हुआ है वो deposit और utilization as per the law है कि, but now additional check has been put in this certificate. So form 3 also speaks about deposit and utilization for land and construction cost. So it is specific that it is land and construction cost. So it doesn't include your commission, brokerage, marketing cost, advertisement cost. No. Yes, this is the major issue which most of the developers and CAs are facing, that not only issuing the certificate is important by a chartered accountant, but it should be agreed and accepted by the promoter. So if you will upload like this only without your signature, it won't be a valid document. So if you are, and the other side of this, the coin is that if you are signing the certificate, later on you cannot take a different position, that I didn't agree to this. So that is the reason, whatever comments, I will show you later on, but whatever comments are mentioned by a chartered accountant, and if you are agreeing to that, then later on it cannot be denied. So it is very important for the part on the part of the promoter, and this counter signature has been included in all the certificates. Now coming to the first certificate, first table, table A, that is estimated cost of the project. So that is estimated cost of the project. Earlier there were 2 tables. I mean to say side by side we had to mention estimated cost and actual cost, but now they have separated these costs. The logic behind this is, I will tell you in few slides. First, separate table for estimated cost, then at the time of registration you have to give this cost, and this estimated cost should be only for the sanction units. If you are considering for unapproved FSI, then the RERA authorities might raise an inquiry. So later on, you can apply through correction application by paying 5,000 and give appropriate reason and documentation, and then you can change the estimated cost. But this should always be whatever sanction is there, only that you can develop. So this cost needs to be amended as and when there are any changes in DC rules or any kind of changes, additional FSI, all such costs should be incorporated in your certificates later on. Provision for cost incurred for additional items as per table A and B of engineer certificate. This was not there in earlier certificate. Any additional cost incurred or any additional items are required in the project. So that cost, if visible in form 2, that can be incorporated as and when this cost is included in the form 2. Then pass-through charges or indirect taxes should be excluded. These are the charges which developers collect and deposit or have a specific purpose. So this cannot form part of your cost. But yes, now as a developer, you are not allowed to credit if you are having 5% or 1% liability. So that becomes your cost. The construction, what the GST which you pay on construction or any other such cost, GST cost, that becomes your cost of construction, and you can claim it as a cost in the particular project. And this can be revised, as I said, through a correction application. Yes. Next. Now earlier, the position was that only actual cost, that is the actual cost. I have a bill of machinery or any rental. amount, I have directly taken that cost to the as a cost of construction in my project. But it can happen that same cost will also be taken in the other project in the same company. So what they did, instead of actual cost, they have changed that word actual to absorbed. So only for the time the machinery or the equipment is used on that particular project, उतना ही cost आपको इस project में include करना. That's it. Coming to actual cost, it is replica of estimated cost. But only important thing is minimum of actual cost of construction by engineer and C. The earlier position was this. The logic behind separation of estimated and actual cost is earlier the comparison was between estimated cost of engineer, cost of construction of engineer, and the actual cost of C. And obviously the estimated cost will always be high. So somewhere it never gave a true picture. So they changed it to actual cost of construction by engineer and actual cost of construction by C. So now the comparison is valid, so that both of them will maintain the record, and the CA will certify from the books of accounts. Suppose for 100 units the bill is included in the books, and only 80 units are used for that particular project. So the cost will be lower, which is of 80 units. That can be taken in that particular certificate. So this is an important change. So accordingly, the importance of Form 2 has increased. If Form 2 engineers will think that I will copy the cost of the chartered accountant, then no, because they have again changed a language in engineer certificate also. Then rest everything is same. Whatever estimated cost is there, exact replica of that will be included in the actual cost. Next. Now this table C, statement for calculation of receivables. Most of the developers is having a misconception that this thing provides their profitability or loss at the start of the project. That giving sold, unsold inventory and everything. So unsold inventory is at ASR value, which is not valid. They don't want your profitability. They are not looking at the profitability in this case. Because at the start of the project, this will always be lower. Unless you have many units to sell, it might be lower. They just want how many units are there in this project. So that's the important thing. And later on, as the project progresses, this certificate or this part assumes importance. Because from unsold inventory, most of the inventories will be transferred to sold. Then you will have a correct picture as compared to the cost. So this table in rules, if you will observe MahaRERA rules, this is still applicable under Rule 4 to the ongoing project. Now, which are ongoing projects? Those projects which haven't received OC at the time of inception of them. But they haven't changed this to new projects. But later on, due to general acceptance and this information was getting verified from developers also and chartered accountant, so they made it applicable to everyone. So this now table is applicable to all. Everyone. Again, pass-through charges and indirect taxes should be excluded from unit consideration. Next is table D. Now, table D speaks about, again, this table is was applicable only for ongoing projects, because this table makes sense only for ongoing projects. What will happen for comparison of estimated balance cost with the unsold? Because at the time of registration, everything is unsold. So what they did is they kept this table for all projects. Only the last point, there is one fourth point, that whether the cost is less than the estimated receivables. If that's the situation, then you have to deposit 100% in Rera designated account. So they made that condition applicable only to the ongoing projects. The rest you have to disclose it. So this table again is applicable for all projects. So what is the agenda here? That how much is the unsold area, how much is the receivables, and that's it. That's the only disclosure is relevant. Otherwise, you have to deposit 70% for all the projects started after the inception of that. So no need to check. So 70 or 100% check only for ongoing projects and not for new projects. But this table is applicable for all projects. Now this table, this was not there till now. ये table E, designated bank account tables, account details. They are asking the developer designated bank account. At the time of registration, everything will be zero. Bank account just open किया होगा. उसके बाद के certificates में opening balance, this is always cumulative till the date of the certificate. Whenever you will obtain form 3, you have to disclose this. अब इसमें बहुत सारा issues आता है because customer GST एक साथ दे देता है. They never give separate checks. Then in that case, you have to make available a reconciliation because if you are answerable to the 70% amount collected from the customers in this account. Actually, this account should only speak about 70%. Many banks are providing this facility, but certain developers are not maintaining a separate bank account. They are maintaining only a single bank account and collecting 100%. That's good. If you're collecting 100% amount in one account, Rera is not having any problem. But that account then it cannot be used for a different project. It should be compulsorily used for that. So this is the information which they are asking regarding your designated bank account. Now the most confusing table for everyone is the means of finance. Now just understand the purpose here. See, they have given you 3 columns. One is estimated and they have an asterisk mark. I suppose the explanation is proposed and indicated because they have not given the note or anything in the draft certificate. So here it is proposed and indicative. Whenever you will start the project, at that time, you just have to give the information. Say, this is my estimated cost and I might arrange funds for this project in such a manner. एक फोरकास्ट करना है कि मैं ये प्रोजेक्ट कैसे कंप्लीट करूंगा, मेरे फंड्स कितने हो सकते हैं. कस्टमर के तो मिल जाएंगे बिकॉज कस्टमर का अपने पास यूनिट्स है, सो आई कैन इजीली एस्टिमेट बेस्ड ऑन द टोटल एंड आई हैव टू जस्ट give a comparison that this project is manageable based on this. Again, the customer receipts, now it will be based on ASR, so it might be less, but not an issue. So only thing is, this is an estimated, and what exactly the important part is this actual and the estimated at the time of certificate. तो जैसे जैसे हर बार आप सर्टिफिकेट लोगे, ये estimated position change होते रहेगा कि अब आगे from now onwards, how will I manage the project? Certain position will be factual, certain will be estimated. So how I will manage the project in future? That's the position in estimated at the time of registration, at the time of issue of the certificate. And yes, the actual part. This is the most relevant. Yes. Sorry, one. What stage? At the time of registration. Used for the project, that means estimated. I will estimate that how much customers receipt will be used for this project. Estimate. And whenever subsequently I will issue this certificate, then I will get the actual figure based on that table earlier. Sold, unsold unit. Then I will get the actual figure. So that is the most relevant part कि अब तक मैंने जो खर्चा किया है मेरे फंड्स है, तो अभी ये जो फंड्स है टोटल फंड्स फॉर द प्रोजेक्ट, टोटल एस्टिमेटेड यहाँ पे एक्चुअल कॉस्ट है, एस्टिमेटेड वहां पे आ रहा है तो एक्चुअल यहाँ पे आएगा नीचे. So now actual and funds, this has a great relevance. It should match with your accounts also. Just disclosing any kind of figure. See, you are taking finance cost as the interest cost as the finance cost, and here you are not showing total borrowed funds. Then what exactly that finance cost is? If you are showing that I am arranged entire funds from own funds and I am taking finance cost as the interest cost, so there is somewhere mismatch. So this thing needs to be properly monitored and then only you have to include, because यहाँ पे जो है वो correct position, ये आप नहीं बोल सकते कि अरे ये तो गलत है. उसमें estimates errors हो सकता है because it is ultimately an estimate. But this is the factual. Yeah. Now the most important table after all these tables is this comments table. Whenever you sign agreed and accepted by, that means you are agree to all the comments mentioned in this or observations by the chartered accountant. So if he has mentioned some critical comment and later on if you will say that no, ये क्या लिखा मुझे समझा ही नहीं था. No, not a chance. If you are signing it, then you are agreeing it. And certain comments with respect to land cost and construction cost, any discrepancy in bank account, any issue in the sold unsold inventory, deposits or utilization, this can be the exceptions or the comments or observations by chartered accountant in this particular table. And many CAs are mentioned in the bank account numbers and everything, IFSC code. If you will observe that those details are not available on the public view also. So yes, you can, it can be a part of the management representation and whatever it is, but certain details which are in relation to this certificate needs to be mentioned. Otherwise, Rera also would have given a bank account number format में दे देते. So it should be aware of what details needs to be disclosed and what is to be kept. Because here you have to mention the problems in that particular fields, what information they are asking. So with respect to those information, you have to mention your observation or any exceptions. Coming to Form 5, subject clause certifying deposit. Now this Form 5 is the statutory auditor against the chartered accountant. I mean to say Rera auditor. Then subject clause. Here there was a subject clause, but this word was missing, deposit. So now they have added deposit. So what am I certifying? Deposit, utilization, and withdrawal. All the three aspects. There only it is only deposit and utilization. In Form 3, I speak about that I have collected the amount in required proportion and I have utilized it for the project only. And here I am certifying deposit, utilization, withdrawal, everything. So 4 tables and 2 subtables introduced. Here there is shortfall deposit amount to be provided. Now this was not there earlier. अभी अगर आप लोग एक ही बैंक अकाउंट मेंटेन कर रहे हो, उसमें 100% तो ये कभी टेबल में आएगा ही नहीं shortfall, because you are maintaining one bank account and 100% amount is taken in that bank account. But if you are maintaining a separate account and you are taking back amount in different accounts, then there will be shortfall mentioned here. Excess, fine. Shortfall, there is an issue. Because it attracts directly your liability straight away that you are not compliant with the act. And even the affidavit, that is Form B. If you see, you write in that affidavit that I will deposit 70% of the amount collected in separate Rera. So that everything gets violated.
In fact, just one, sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
Like, my first experience, I booked a flat and then with a builder in North India and in Lucknow. And I had transferred all the payments. He had one bank account. Entire consideration was transferred into that bank account. Now, if all the flat, because what the law says, 70% shall go to that bank account. Now, it's a single situation where 100% of the consideration is going to that bank account. What is the, because 30% he could be used somewhere else. Now, with 100% coming to that account, how do you see the, what do you see the advantage or disadvantage?
See, what happens, banks are maintaining 3 different accounts, mostly nationalized and private banks. So what, there is more convenience because there is a master account which is always empty. Once you have the amount in the 100% account, it automatically gets divided into 70 and 30. And most of the banks are not giving checkbook for 70%. What they do, they जैसे CA certificate का limit set करके रखते हैं. And once the amount is divided into 70, if you are having the limit, automatically the 70% से भी 30 तक में जाता है. That means you have incurred. See, this is first you have to incur the cost and then you can recover it from the customer.
And just one more thing, the cost of the project does not include the land cost.
It includes. Huh? It includes. Land cost plus construction cost.
So, because normally when, you know, like, because when a builder says it's a project for development and so on, he should have a confirmed land title. He cannot like that.
Yeah, we have a legal title report for that. So if he is having the title, then only he will get the registration. And now it has increased. The scrutiny for title also, everything is increased after that issue with KDLC now. So now the scrutiny is increased. So if he is not having the title, then the project will not get registered.
Sorry to interrupt, sir. What I request, we can tackle all the questions at the end. We let the speaker finish the PPT on schedule because we have the room for a very specific time and it will be problematic if we cannot finish the PPT. So I request last half an hour we have kept, especially for question and answers, a long time we have kept so that all the questions may get sufficiently tackled. I request you may just note down your questions to yourself or you can pass it on to us, but we'll tackle all the questions at the end. Thank you.
So subject clause certifying deposit utilization and withdrawal. Then there are 4 tables and 2 subtables. Shortfall deposit amount to be provided. Now they are asking date-wise details of excess withdrawals also, and date-wise details of non-utilization for project costs. So all those projects which are labs, there are around more than 4,500 projects which are labs. And in most of the projects, there might be one Form 3 for sure, which is at the time of registration. And after that, they will come back to a CA, probably when they require an extension, if they want to go for extension, because these certificates are required there. And then, so whatever amount was withdrawn during this time frame, it is all excess withdrawal. Because वो limit उसमें जो है वो खत्म हो गया, then all those withdrawals are excess withdrawals, and date-wise details of non-utilization of project costs to be provided. If you are not using from that Rera bank account for the project and you are transferring or diverting the funds, then you will have the details here. See, it may not be necessary that if it is excess withdrawal, then it will always fall under non-utilization. It might be used for the project. So it is not both tables are not dependent on each other. अगर इसमें excess withdrawals है, तो वो हो सकता है कि वो project के लिए use कर रहे हैं, but excess withdrawal. And within limit है, लेकिन वो project के लिए use नहीं कर रहा. Then you will get in this part. So this tackles with both. Now this is table A, deposits. It simply talks about for this the details for the current fiscal year, for that fiscal year or financial year, and total for this project till date. So total amount collected from allottees. Suppose we take 50, then percentage of amount to be deposited is 70 or 100%. Amount to be deposited as per the Act is 35. Total amount deposited in designated bank account is 30. So percentage of amount deposited in designated is 60 if you compare the percentage. So there is a shortfall of 10%. So we can say there is a shortfall of 5. So this they represent that there is a shortfall, and later on, whenever there might be issue or Rera decides that such shortfalls we have to charge penalty, then it might be an issue for the developer if there is such shortfall. Table B, withdrawals. Now table B, withdrawals, we had a table in Form 3 also where it speaks about the bank account. Here also it speaks about the bank account, but here for that current year also and cumulative, both the figures needs to be mentioned. In that case, only cumulative from the date of the previous certificate to the next certificate. So that is the difference. So both the certificates are tracking the same thing, that they are speaking about the bank account. Here also we have any comments or observations on CA certificates or any kind of certificate. This auditor is having the authority to comment on any issues found in all the other forms, form 1, 2, 3. So he can comment on any discrepancy found in form 1, 2, and 3. And based on his certificate, any action can be taken against the professionals also, if any issues is found in those certificates. Next comes architect certificate. So here I will quickly go through, because architects know what is a specification or technical part they are aware of. Just certain things are now amended. So from architect point of view and developers, this is relevant, that the news details and all plot details which they used to mention, still many architects are mentioning this, but it is deleted. Certificate can be issued for the entire layout. As I said that there is an amendment, he can issue it for the entire layout. So instead of building, he can issue this certificate for entire layout. Technical profession, he has to mention RCC consultant, who is RCC consultant, MEP consultant, वो सब delete हो गया. He used to mention number of basement, podium, plane. Number, he used to mention the number. Now you just have to mention the work progress. That is the percentage. And here also counter signature of the promoter is required. Again, same in engineer certificate. But this certificate, see, all the three certificates are somewhere interlinked. I mean to say, you have to be cautious whenever you deal with कि अपना form 1 में क्या दिख रहा है, form 2 में क्या दिख रहा है, और form 3 में उसी हिसाब से थोड़ा दिख रहा है कि नहीं. Because form 3 में cost ज़्यादा हो सकता है, लेकिन engineer से cost कम नहीं हो सकता, ऐसे नहीं होगा. So I am verifying, I have the bill, then only I will include the cost in the form 3. And actually the material is used on the site, then only you can include in form 2. So your plot details, this is common. Only changes estimated cost of civil, MEP, allied works, internal and external works as per specifications mentioned in agreement of sale. So this is very important. They have added this word agreement of sale, which was not there, and as per specifications. So whatever the developer is promising in annexure F, अगर आप amenities और इसमें देख रहे हो, उसका cost भी मैंने consider किया है, उसका estimated cost ही मैंने consider किया है form 2 में. ये additional चीज उन्होंने form 2 में include किया है. Now next, actual cost incurred to be on the basis of input material or services used and unit cost. This was missing. Earlier it was actual cost incurred to be on the basis of the architect certificate. But now actual cost incurred to be on the basis of input material or services used. That means what? You also have to maintain a record. Then only you can prove what is the actual cost used of the input material or services. And if you have observed the recent news that MahaRERA is into the process of empaneling the investigators, registered valuers for labs projects. So which certificate they will target first for comparison? Is this? So he speaks about the actual cost on the site incurred and form 3 also. So these two certificates and the registered valuer report will be compared for finding out any financial discrepancy. Complete project as per approved drawings and specification. Again, these things were not there. This has been added, that approved drawings and specifications mentioned in agreement first. Yeah. Any amendment in cost incurred due to deviation in quantity or escalation in quantity needs to be incorporated. अगर एक टेबल है नीचे इसमें फॉर्म 2 में, आप अगर सर्टिफिकेट में देखोगे तो एंड में टेबल सी है. It speaks, it earlier used to speak about only additional items. Later on, MahaRERA added a word called deleted, because people used to consider only additional items cost. But जो अगर मैं ये particular brand के tiles दे रहा हूँ और अभी मैंने switch किया दूसरे brand के tiles दे रहा हूँ तो उसका cost भी delete करना चाहिए. So that accordingly needs to be incorporated. So deleted items cost needs to be deleted in the revised estimates and the cost. So deviation in material used to be reported, local authority license number mentioned, deleted items to be mentioned in table C, and then counter signature of promoter. Next is quality assurance. Only 2 additional things, rest everything we have covered. So only 2 things, that material wise details are deleted. Earlier वहाँ पे material wise अपने को mention करना पड़ता था engineer को. Now they are just mentioned that all construction materials are as per the standards, but it should be as per the specification as per annexure F of agreement for sale. And if there is no specification mentioned, then it should be as per industry standard. These are the 2 additional things included in his quality assurance certificate. So everything they are linking it with the agreement for sale based on the certain in future model agreement and everything. So these are it is a way forward towards that. Coming to architect certificate, architect 4, that is form 4. Here also all the prior points are common. The important change, see the small word changes. There are small changes in the sentences written in these certificates, and many people are issuing the certificate like this also. But here on the basis of inspection. This was introduced because the project had OC and the architect has given a form 4, and later on there are cases of that it is not fit for occupancy. So such cases, due to such cases, they have introduced this word that it should not be only on the basis of structural engineer certificate of form 2, but it should be on the basis of your inspection also, that you are issuing completion. And it is a fit for occupancy and complete as per agreement of sale. So these are the two changes, important changes in form 4. Coming to next, we have completed the certificate part, and here, now many had confusion that certificate, whether the certificates needs to be submitted to the bank or not, and when it needs to be submitted. So what does RERA Act says? Yes. RERA rules and regulations says yes. There was an FAQ 2019 also that original to be retained and copies to be submitted to bank. And circular, initially a circular was released where a self-declaration format was released, but later on it was deleted with effect from 28 December 2021 that that self-declaration is no longer valid. And yes, the certificate needs to be submitted to bank at the time of every withdrawal and copies online to MahaRERA. Now, every withdrawal again creates a confusion. So they released another circular number 39A, and there they mentioned that yes, but if the withdrawal is in tranches, same certificate and a declaration, no format is given, only declaration that I am withdrawing in tranches and I have a limit, and that needs to be submitted to the bank. So those banks which are asking the certificate, to them you have to submit this. But banks have gone one step beyond. They are obtaining these certificates at the time of extension. If you have not given certificate, they are blocking the account, freezing the account, everything they are doing, which RERA authority is also not doing. So they have gone one step beyond RERA authority. So but if withdrawal in tranches, same certificate and declaration needs to be obtained. That's it. Thank you. Discussion.
Yes, so the pending questions that my learned friends had, you can raise your hand and we can ask the questions one by one, and our expert faculty will answer.
So it means with this information, I'm Aditya Pratap and I'm an advocate.
Okay.
So it means with this intelligent person with all this information there, he can even like calculate the profit a builder is going to earn from the particular project. All the costs of the project is disclosed. The sale price of the flats is known, number of flats is known. One can even calculate how much project estimated a builder can earn.
No, basically here the land cost is on the basis of ASR value. And most of the cost, if you will see, depends on the developer, that profitability, and profitability from this project is subject to the calculation of the sold and unsold also. So if sold value, and there are other parameters on which profitability is calculated, so it will not give a true picture, because basic land cost is not allowed to be taken for actual cost. Only the ASR value is allowed as per revised amendment. So in that case, it's not possible. And many are trying, and this certificate is not available on public domain. It is not available for public view. Only Form 5 is available for public view.
This I think CER, SAR. In most of the projects that we registered, there is no detail of that. What exactly is SAR?
They have a website.
I know that. Yeah. Why was that website made? What kind of encumbrances are listed on that?
All the financial encumbrances or the land, any mortgage you have done, all the encumbrances, if you have taken any loan or funding, then there will be mortgage and encumbrances. Then all the details, they require that there is any financial hold or any litigation on that particular project. So all the registration, it is a central registry. So all the charges are registered on that particular website.
Give me an example. Now if you're doing a redevelopment project, there are certain members who have taken a home loan. Right? Is that reflected in this?
No. that will depend. You won't get a nil report. Then you have to give a declaration.
And there are no income.
No income. You have to give the exact land details, plot details, everything, as much details possible, and then you can give a declaration. That there is no such thing, and these loans you don't have to comment on.
And suppose in the future, as a developer, we are taking that. So should we change the declaration that there is now an encumbrance on the project? Because say at the start of the project.
Yes, yes. It is covered under regular and quarterly updates. So you have to continuously update that. Otherwise, अगर किसी ने complaint किया, then they find out that still your old declaration is there, then you might face penalties. That's the reason they have given quarterly updates.
I just wanted to go back to the details of excess withdrawals and non-utilization of project.
So whenever, see, details of excess withdrawal. Now suppose I have form 3, I have given a limit of 1 crore rupees and the developer has withdrawn 2 crore rupees. So that 1 crore rupees is an excess withdrawal for the purpose. So whatever limit, net amount, if you will observe form 3, there is a net amount which can be withdrawn from bank account. Once the developer crosses that limit, he has to compulsorily obtain another form 3. See, it is preferable that you obtain form 3 quarterly. But if he is not obtaining and he is crossing that limit also, then he should obtain the fresh form 3. And if he is not having form 3, then that is called as excess withdrawal. Yeah.
Cross verification of non-utilization and excess.
Now, suppose I have withdrawn excess 1 crore rupees, but that 1 crore also spent on land and construction cost. Then it will not fall in the second tier. That it is not utilized for the project. It is utilized for the project, but it is excess withdrawal.
In table B of form 3, the first line item is value of a land and a certain annual statement rate. But actual cost incurred would be higher.
Yeah.
So in that case, the value certified by CA might go wrong because it is not as per books.
Yeah, it is not as per books, but the logic behind it is that the MahaRERA or Rera authority doesn't want you to withdraw the entire land cost at first instance. आप पूरा अपना आज land मैंने purchase किया, मुझे तो aware है उसके risk and everything. I am putting it into the stock as a introducing it to the project. So I am recovering the entire land cost. Then why I have purchased that? So I should be responsible or accountable for that project. So I am allowed only to withdraw only to the extent of AS. And so obligation hoga developer to in that project, to remain in that project. That if I am allowed only up to ASR, then for the above amount, I am still accountable. I have recorded my part amount till ASR, but for entire amount, other amount, I am still accountable. So I will remain in the project. और मेरा land cost खत्म हो गया तो major cost गया, which और start of the registration ही अगर मैंने वो पूरा land cost मतलब अगला certificate में अगर लेने जाऊँ तो बहुत time लग जाएगा. So that will not give a true picture of the financial working.
But then in that case, the books will not match with the certificate.
Yeah, that's fine. He just have to disclose that we have included as per the ASR, as per so and so rule number. Explanation to the rule 5.
So three major reasons why all the registration are done. Title certificate, agreement for sale and all. Can we speak of that or the restriction only for the bank?
Sorry, I didn't get you.
The three major reasons why the registration are done is the discrepancy that they find in title certificate, agreement for sale as well as.
Yeah.
So will you be able to discuss that or you are restricted only to the financial part?
I can discuss, but currently it is on forms. What exactly?
So my difficulty, I'll tell you, the practical difficulty that I have in the title certificate. So the developer has purchased a land in 2006, paid the entire whole registration, but they are still asking us to make that original landowner as a co-promoter. Now they are not ready because they say I have sold you back in 15 years. Why should I become a co-promoter? So this is one discrepancy why there is projects are many of them. Second is the 2% of termination. Now developers are paying 14% to the banks. If I'm facing a practical problem, people after entering into agreement, they refuse to pay the further amount. So to get that registered document cancel, either I have to get a cancellation deed register, or I have to apply to Rera, get an order from there, which takes 4 to 6 months time. So a developer is incurring so much loss, but to restrict the termination and the recovery only 2% is how justified. Third thing, suppose a 100-acre layout, I am registering one building as control, but the layout is saying it has 50 buildings. So if I have a clause in my agreement to say, it says I am entitled to change the plan to the balance building. They are saying they are taking as a blanket consent, that is not allowed. How can I foresee that what will happen after 5 years when there will be demand for 2 BHK, 3 BHK? So I should have that right. This is the major practical problem that we are facing while getting these sanctions.
Okay. So basically the first issue is your legal title report. So if there is the name of the legal title in that, if you are having the landowner, if he has sold the land to you, then no way he can never be a co-promoter. Correct? But if you are allotting him some area, entire, yeah. So nothing is then it's not required, because as per your promoter definition, if it is not, he's not into that definition, then it is not required. They might have misunderstood something else, so that needs to be clarified. And you coming to your second thing, that agreement, right? Yeah.
Agreement and allotment.
Allotment. Agreement and allotment, you're 2%. See, as per there are judgments. So as per the Act, there is no forfeiture clauses.
So if you go by Indian Contract Act Section 60, even Supreme Court has agreed that a liquidated damages, which is reasonably 10%. So, of course,
I think so.
We are under consideration that we are planning another session where we are trying to understand all the difficulties faced by the builder. So, as the association, the Rera Practitioners Association, one of our duty and our goal is to make representation to the Rera, not only say for purchaser side or whatever, but even the genuine builders who have genuine problems with, say, the interface or the process or the step-by-step procedure. We are in the process of scheduling another session where the builders' queries are consolidated, and accordingly we will make appropriate representation. So what I suggest, sir, that you become part of the RKWA group. Not only will you receive regular updates and all that, but all these special events which seek to tackle the existing problems, not just say education, but problem-solving events. I request, sir, once you become a member, we'll share these updates with you. We'll hold another session and then we'll discuss and make representations. And nonetheless, we thank you for pointing out issues like these, sir, because the friction that happens between ground reality and what is supposed to be the law, because of this, all the stakeholders suffer, the professionals suffer, the businessman suffers, the purchaser suffers, and it is a zero-sum game. So one person's loss is more or less every person's loss. So stay associated with us. We'll get involved. We'll hold other sessions and we'll make appropriate. Do we have any other questions? If no more questions in this room, there are certain questions that have been asked online. Advocate Sunil Kevalramani will read out those questions for Aditya Zantye.
First question in the online chat. So the first question in the online Zoom chat is, what if the promoter maintains only one bank account? Remarks in Form 5.
So that's not an issue. It should be only a separate account. Because as per Act, it is only separate account that needs to be mentioned. So nowhere they have made a compulsion that you have to maintain an escrow account. But it should be specific or designated to that particular project. That's the only requirement.
Okay. So the second question is it advisable to show these forms on public domain on project web page?
Which page?
No, as in the project
registration is talking.
So basically, these forms, the whole point of RERA, among several things, is transparency, where the money is collected, being used, deposited, withdrawn. Will it serve the general public at large if these form 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are uploaded on the project webpage along with the other details, along with date of possession, FSI details, latitude, longitude, area, etc. If these forms are also displayed on the project webpage for the common man to see, will it serve any achievable purpose?
Basically, see, now only one form is not available. That is Form 3 on the public domain. But all other forms are available. So at least Form 5 will give you the assurance that your money which is collected is used for that project. If it is certifying, then it is used for the project. And later on, if it is stuck and the reason is financial discrepancy, then it might be challenged. So till the time Form 5 is getting regularly updated, that means he is compliant. And if you will see where the project is stuck, there won't be Form 5 for 4 to 5 years. So then there is literally a financial discrepancy somewhere. So wherever regularly Form 5 is uploaded, that means your money is utilized for that project. So you can be rest assured.
Not a public document or that the person who is investing, looking at the project, would want to see the financial status of a project.
Basically, the issue is the customer should not be bothered about the cost of the developer. I think so. He should be bothered only about the units, his particular flat. So if the developer starts disclosing his cost also, actual cost incurred, so that will have a negative impact on other departments also, and it will create a confusion, and the other department might interpret it in a different way, and developer will have a issue because if due to that the bank account is being attached, so he might not be able to carry out the construction. So unless and until, see what as a from point of view of the customer, it is only relevant that his money is being utilized for that project, which CA Form 5 is serving the purpose. But he should not be aware of what cost is incurring into the project, because he is uska lookout nahi. And yes, that form is available. If he goes into public inspection at MahaRERA, then he can obtain that form. In a agar uska particular complaint hai, and he is targeting that he has diverted the funds and he has not spent it on the project, then the specific agreed person can go. But if you will be available for by default, then it will not. It will be difficult for the developer also.
But it's a public document, no?
Yes.
So I had a question. You talked about the quarterly updates. You talked about the corrections forms. So are all these forms, including the original forms, available on the website?
Yes. Once you have uploaded, it can never be deleted. That's the important thing. Even if you upload an incorrect document, you cannot delete it. So that needs to be taken care of while upload. After registration, all the documents are at the time of application. Also, whatever you upload, it remains with MahaRERA. So later on, if you change the Rera bank account, but the first bank account details will always remain with Rera.
I have a question. See, like in litigation, we see the builders are not uploading the sold inventory quarterly. So what is MahaRERA tracking that, whether they are uploading the sold inventory every quarterly?
Basically, they are tracking it, but now currently their concentration in all those projects where 90%, more than 90% of booking, and they are labs. So they are trying to focus on those projects. But sooner or later, they will start charging penalties for non-compliance of Section 11, because the order is in force. So aage jaake they are giving the opportunity of developer for self-compliance. But later on, now they have started charging based on complaint basis. So if you will target in complaint that see this project has not uploaded Form 5, they are charging 1 lakh. So such type of where we have seen in Gujarat Rera, that they have come up with a slab of so and so project cost, the penalty will be this much. So it begins from 25,000 and maximum 1 lakh rupees for non-uploading quarterly updates and quarterly forms. They came out with a one-time submission scheme also for compounding of the penalties. But now here slowly they will start, but they have given the opportunity for developers to comply.
Suppose there is a builder, he has got approvals from government to build 16 floors. So at the time of registration, and he is also planning in future to build up to get the approvals up to 20 floors. So at the time of registration, should I write the estimated cost for 16 floors or for
16? If you will show as FSI, unapproved FSI, the balance. But for 16, you will estimate. Otherwise, it will be way beyond estimates के ऊपर के वो ही fix नहीं है उसका भी मैं estimate पकड़. So then there will be a mismatch. So it is advisable that you will consider the estimate of the sanction units. And later on, 5,000 rupees worth correction application se you can revise it. But they require Form 2 also accordingly, revision. So engineers should also accommodate that construction cost in these services.
Continue that point. Now there is concept of zero FSI average, zero FSI CC. उसमें क्या ही cost आएगा and क्या मतलब? Is the developer then allowed to sell the flats because zero FSI average because I have a real problem?
Yeah, these are allowed.
Of the flats that are not approved, I am allowed to sell.
No, that is not. Yeah, yes. There is a circular, you have to declare that circular that there is a zero FSI, it is allowed to register. You are not allowed to, if you are not having the approved sanction plan, how can you sell? Sanction plan चाहिए. Zero FSI होगा चलेगा commencement का. लेकिन sanction plan चाहिए, approved plan.
There is one thing of registration with RERA, the other thing is sale to the customer. So the former part zero will assist you in registering the project, but for sale you need sanction.
Yes.
The time period shorter later on for the correction because right now it's taking months right now to register the point for the first time. That's why people are now thinking that zero FSI RDCC लेते हैं, उसको registration process में खत्म करते हैं, and then we'll take an amendment later on, so that when we have the full approvals. So is the time period shorter for amendments or correction applications, or the time frame is the same for both the completion?
If I'm not wrong.
There is no such, I mean to say it depends on the server because based on the documents, the time period starts.
So
once you have complete applications.
Our says that you have, once you place an application, you have to give you a certificate of registration within a particular time. Otherwise, if you don't get, there is a provision that it is deemed accepted unless it is rejected with the speaking order. You get a deemed certificate registration if they do not reject the application. So revision, I would say, it's a cumbersome process. Rather have your plans in place and then register.
Yes. And that time frame also starts from the after the deadline for correct application. Okay? So it is correct application. So उसके बाद वो deadline. आप अगर resubmissions बार-बार करोगे, तो जब भी आपका fully proof corrected application जाएगा, उसके बाद 30 days. MahaRERA वैसे consider.
As far as your earlier applications were concerned, because and AI automatic, whatever you would upload, they would accept as genuine.
Yeah.
Now, since there are FIRs and SITs formed on forged documents, there were 65 registrations in cases. Now, every document which you are uploading has been now cross-checked, verified, and only therefore, this cumbersome process they are taking some time. Otherwise, I think earlier it was on the same day.
3-4 days.
Yeah, maximum 3 application.
So now, because of cross-checking of these approvals and compliances, it should have been done earlier.
That is civil projects, they would upload documents with a resolution of 100, 150 dpi.
Correct.
And then increase the
Any more questions? Can we conclude for today? What is the exact meaning of annual auditor of the company? The auditor will sign balance sheet?
No. The annual auditor means you can have a separate, like this annual statement of accounts. The heading of the form 5. So they have named it annual auditor. You can have.
It should be balance sheet signed.
No. You can have a separate RERA audit.
So in case of redevelopment, when builder is not regarding any land, what is the significance of ASR?
Sorry.
In case of redevelopment, where builder is not acquiring any land, okay, what is the significance of this ASR?
The construction cost of that rear building. Construction of rear.
The first one, value of the ASR.
Yeah, it is not relevant. But that is, you have a one more tab there under rehabilitation scheme.
Yeah.
So there you will include the cost of construction of those units which you will give to tenants.
Keep this.
Yes, yes. So that becomes your land cost.
Okay. So for indicative for those, we need to show this as
You can write 0 and you can give a disclosure.
Listen.
So let us conclude this session with a vote of thanks. We all know that RERA came in the year 2017 and there was MOFA before that. And we all know that RERA is a central law. But your central prime minister is not going to come and tell you what to do for your Thane bank account, Borivali bank account, etc. So the states and the grassroots level, the MahaRERA and all the other RERAs, they have done from 2017 trial and error. They have tried methods one after the other, method after method, to see what is working and what is not working. And as of today, the professional who wants to practice, they have to catch up with the circulars, they have to clarify with the procedure. And for that purpose, we immensely thank CA Aditya Zantye here today for sharing his experience and practical difficulties and practical advices to the developers, to the professionals, so that the goal of RERA may be realized and your practice may be smooth, that how the transparency is being achieved on the money that is collected, where the money is being spent, transparency on how much work is actually being completed, how should the chartered accountant and the builder tackle the various technicalities. As we saw, almost 20 to 30 questions, all different in nature, all based on the project specification, how to tackle each and every one of them, how to stay within the four corners of law as well as the RERA interface. And in short, sir has helped us clarify how to distinguish the needle from the haystack. And he has helped us and thrown light on how to give the correct bottom line and what is the importance of these forms and the power as well as the responsibility of the professionals who are issuing them. My dear friends, please join me in thanking CA Aditya Zantye in sharing his experience and guiding the developers and the CA. And last, let me just say that please, my friends, the forms of membership to RPWA, RERA Practitioners Welfare Association, have been given to you in hard copy also. We'll circulate in soft copy also. What I request, do consider taking the membership, and there will be lots of benefits of taking RPWA membership. You will have access to events like these, resources like these, panel discussions, advisory functions, etc. The PPTs that are circulated in the event, that will be circulated in the groups. So do consider taking a membership. And in case of any query, you can email us at enquiry.rpa@gmail.com. That is enquiry.rpa@gmail.com. So with that, let us conclude this session.
Mithil, there are certain online questions,
Okay.
A couple of other questions. The request Sunil to take it.
Whether estimated cost can be changed after revision of plan.
Yes, it can be changed, but in case of revision of plan, there is a need of having a section 14(2). You have to take permission from the buyers, and then only you can do all the changes. They might even ask for that. They have a proper format also for that.
Now the next question is from Amit. There is balance payable to the creditors. So where should where is shown in the table F as fund utilized to cost?
Now there is balance. See, it is the exact differentiation between the available funds and your cost. So that difference is itself your balance payable. It should reflect. If you are having only one project in that particular company, the sundry creditor will exactly reflect the position, because actual cost is taken on incurred basis, and funds utilized is on paid basis. So the difference between both is your balance payable, that is your creditors.
So next question is from CA Agarwal. Whether the unallotted landowner share to be included in the unsold stocks?
Unallotted landowner share.
Yes. To be included in the unsold stocks.
Yes.
Now the next question is from Mr. Gangar. If forms are filled in with incorrect details, then can we delete the old form and file the new form?
No.
Or both form remains on the website, as it creates a lot of confusion to the allottees?
Yeah, both forms will always remain on the website. And later on, if any issues are there, then you have to properly explain it. Otherwise, there is no way out, because once a form is uploaded, it can never be deleted.
So there's one more question from the same person. Do co-promoters on revenue sharing need to file joint forms or individual forms?
On revenue sharing, only one form, that is joint form. And in case of area sharing, separate forms.
Questions are four.
There is just one more which has come in DM to me. It is a follow-up to the earlier question. If some units are not shown in RERA website, then what should be the remarks? Uska follow-up is that redevelopment project. Does it need to be shown that flats are allotted to landowners, and what if any landowner sales, flats are allotted to them?
So if any flats are allotted to landowners, he will obtain a separate Form 3. So that need not be mentioned in the, because it will have an area sharing agreement. So in that case, he has to obtain a separate Form 3.
Thank you.
One last question.
Last question.
Yes.
What do you mean by change or amendment of plan? In the layout, suppose I am having a 10, I have registered one building in a project, but if I am changing the building which is not registered, will it count as an amendment of plan, and do I need to give consent of the
See, it has been properly defined. It is called a major alterations in the project, which is affecting the rights of the allottees. And it is defined in section 14, subsection 2. So wherever there is such major change, for example, DC rules also, there was change in FSR, then also you have to obtain the permission of the buyers. So such major alterations, you have to upload, you have to obtain a consent of the buyers.
So my learned friend's question is that if you register one building in one phase, whether a layout amendment, you need consent of other allottees from phase 1. The answer is yes. The project details you have to fill in the phase that this is the entire project layout. Your amenities are common, and therefore each of the allottees have the same right, and you have to have 2/3 consent from every phase.
And so then this will defeat the whole purpose of having change it from MoPA to RERA. I'll tell you why. I am not changing the building which I have registered. I have absolutely no change in the premises which I have sold, no change in the amenities that I have provided. If suppose my 4 building pair of 2 BHK, I am making them 3 BHK. So there will be a change. I have to go for an amendment. And there is no change. Now, whether it is a substantial amendment, whether it will negate or it will prejudice the allocation, who decides that?
So these are all case specific related matters, and if you go in minute details, if you make a 3 BHK into 1 BHK, the gentry number of units increase, the number of families increase. The entire purpose to buy in a layout with a luxury amenity is to have a limited number of gentry. So if you create a 1 RK in a 5 BHK layout, your 1 room kitchen people, the gentry which you want in the layout will not suffice the purpose, and the intent of having 2/3 consent is for the same.
Suppose if there are people are registering township, are you saying that if for 100 buildings I need to foresee and need to plan for the market?
While I agree with you on the points or on the principle that genuine developers, it is a hurdle for them, but we have to keep in mind that the mischief that was being played earlier was that promoters were just amending anything without taking the consent. So basically, what section 14 of RERA is was section 7 of MoFA.
Talks about the project. Now, project, if you see the definition of the project, is a project which is registered under RERA. When you talk about the layout, I'm talking about layout, not the project. Project, I can register 4 flats as a project. So this is the distinction that I'm talking about. This is the distinction provided.
I think in that case, if you have a huge township like Rostamji Global City, you have 100 buildings. You register groups of 1, 2, or 3 buildings as each project.
Yeah. The technicality where it arises that the person purchasing just 1 flat, he is entitled to know the entire layout. So basically, your grievance arises from there, no, that the law requires that the buyer has to be informed consent and informed amendment. So that is where the problem is coming. In the sense, the earlier the mischief was being faced for visions that were not this large. So I think accordingly we can consider some representation to RERA that the mischief was happening when there was say 1 building, 2 building, but for townships, this mischief is going as a mischief to the promoter and it's causing a hurdle.
Sir, but the grievance today which you are raising, sir, even till date, the amendments happen without consent. The amendments are carried out. There is a change in plan. The consent is not in place. So that grievance, I don't think should be a grievance as on today. And when you make a 2 BHK into a 3 BHK, I think the allottees will happily give you consent. So if you invite your allottee to come and give you a consent.
To advise our client. So if a client asks me whether with people amount to, I need to go and take for consent or I have to give him an answer to that question.
Yes. In law, yes.
Unfortunately, yes.
After getting the approval, suppose if the builder wants to increase the number of floors, then also you have to take the consent.
Yes. See, in approval, you have a facility to upload sanctioned FSI and unapproved FSI. So if you are not disclosing there, then you have to obviously take the permission of the buyers. If you are disclosing there, then it is not good because you have disclosed that you are proposing that this FSI will some additional floors are going to come and total FSI in this particular project is this much. So basically what I suggest everyone is that whenever you have certain proposed in a layout also, you disclose it to the buyers initially itself that this is going to become, and whenever you write in everywhere you have the disclosure that you disclose that this is a layout, so your conveyance and everything will be fall after the last building and everything you get an OC. So if you will disclose, then there is no issue, but you cannot take a blanket consent because that is not allowed as per act. Then there is a deviation which is not allowed.
The thing about blanket consent, just relating to the earlier gentleman's query also, that blanket consent was one of the mischiefs that was being played earlier, that they will take a document from the buyer that whatever has to be changed, the buyer is giving his deemed consent right now. So 6 years later, suppose he gives consent today, 6 years later, something the promoter wants to do, he will bypass the buyer, citing the 6-year-old document saying you have given your sign. And that was expressly held against in the Bombay High Court judgment of Neena Wadia, that consent for amendment and alteration of plan, it cannot be blanket consent, it cannot be assumed consent, it has to be express consent. For every change, you have to take the express consent. I am proposing to do this, from this to this change, and you require to put that forward in very clear terms. You cannot do it in advance, you cannot do it in a summary or overview. So that is where the gentleman's query is arising, that as of today, that is becoming a huge problem.
The RERA allows you as a developer to amalgamate adjoining plots. For example, I want to amalgamate an adjoining plot somewhere in the middle of the project. I cannot disclose it today because I have no rights over that plot or whatever.
Correct.
And once I amalgamate, the layout is going to change.
Correct.
Right? So will I still need to go for consent?
Unfortunately, yes. So just expanding on the gentleman, what issue he is pointing out, the whole thing is that today the large scale construction is going on, and the laws that were made and the judgments that were passed were relatively small scale, 2 buildings, 3 buildings. The vision of a 100 building